All right, so let's get into you know how last week the big news was Rogan had Trump on there, right? And they were trying to get Kamala scheduled, and I was looking to see if that actually happened. So I did find two clips that appear to be Kamala on Joe Rogan podcast. I'm gonna leave it for you to decide what you're seeing here, and to laugh along with it because you know it's not real, but it could have been. She could have been on there for 3 hours. Here's Ping Trip and Danny Polishchuk representing what they thought could have been unburdened by what has never yet happened.
She actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas. And I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull. Party on. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, like, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room. That's a distraction. People in the room, like, my whole goal with her and with him is just talk, just have a conversation like a human being. You find out things about people. You get a sense of them, at least, a real sense. That was it. I don't give a what we talk about. I really don't. I just want to talk to you. Who the are you?
This is honestly a terrible decision if you ask me, because Trump's interview was so big and reached so many people and was a huge win, whether you want to admit it or not. So for her to not go on is just weird. I know people think it'll hurt her because they think she'll embarrass herself. And to be honest, yeah, that's the most likely outcome. But this is like Tom Brady just saying, no, I don't want to go to the Super Bowl, dude. I think I'll pass. It would be one thing if she was blowing Trump out in the polls, but she's actually down right now. There's still time for her to change her mind, though. I hope she does. I think if she wants to win, she has to do it. Like, how do you not do that if you're playing to win? Am I wrong?
Do you think they think that you're on his side and they're more wary of you?
I don't know. I mean, there's just because of my appearance, there's always been this assumption that I'm some right-wing MAGA guy. I'm a politically homeless person, for sure. I always considered myself a left-wing person. I never thought I would ever vote right-wing.
Ah, gotcha. Did Joe just admit he's voting for Trump? He might have just let it slip right there. Ain't it funny how things work? They got mad at Joe for having a different opinion on things in 2020, started calling him right-wing and attacking him, and then Joe from right into Trump's giant McDonald's-smelling wide-open arms, man. Congratulations. What a strategy. Bravo. This happens all the time, by the way. You really should be nice to those who you disagree with if you actually want to win them over to your side. Just a little advice for you brainiacs out there.
The moment you stopped, you started questioning or pushing back, it was the moment you just found yourself exiled from the group. And it just seemed that what I fell in love with at one point in my life no longer existed.
Yeah, because it's bullshit. And I think we should even stop calling it the left and the right, because it's just tribes. It really that is the real problem. When you have people that are supposedly progressive and liberal, and they're opposed to the idea that free speech is an absolute right as an American citizen.
I would love Kamala Harris to come on this podcast. That's the podcast I want to see the most in this election.
Too, but I feel like very strongly that if it's going to be done, it has to be done like a regular podcast, because that's the only way it works.
Sure.
The only way it works is just sit down and talk with somebody. You can't go to some ballroom in some hotel where they control everything and they have cameras ready and they want to edit stuff out. It's like, that's just too weird. It's not the same thing. Everyone has to be able to talk, and we have to figure out who's right. And you might be wrong. You might be wrong, and you might be clinging to this idea that you're right, and you're going to do the whole thing a terrible disservice.
Come on, man. Joe will make sure you get your favorite wine. You can sit down, have a nice drink, have some buttered chicken or whatever dish you like, and just let Joe charm you. Just go to him. He has what you need, baby. Just go. Do it.
She's got to be aware of how many people are hating on her. She has to be aware of how many people don't think she deserves a spot. She just got in.
You're running to be the leader of the most powerful country in the world.
Right.
You got to be able to talk, man. We don't even say this because it's so obvious, but you got to be able to communicate.
And by having no primary and having her just go right through, and then keeping RFK Jr. away from Biden even before that, like, this does not give a lot of people faith that you are following the ideals that this country was founded on.
You're going to be sitting across from Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin.
Right.
If you can't talk,
right,
How's that going to go?
It's always fascinating to watch someone like way out of their league and they get exposed. But that same person could be doing a softball interview and they look like a wizard. They look like a genius because they already have their predetermined answers to questions that have already been presented to them. So they prepare. And that's essentially what you've been getting a lot with Kamala Harris. You've been getting a lot of this prepared stuff. You know, well, I was born in a middle-class family. And then she just has this thing that she's going to say. And Kamala Harris was saying defund the police.
Totally.
Defunding the police. Are you out of your mind? You don't know jack about police work.
Wow, after going off like that, I really doubt Kamala is going to come on the show now. I wonder how long before they start pulling up old dirt on Joe. And you just know the you-know-what word edit starts getting pushed around again and getting shared by all these lefties. I have a feeling if they don't do a pod together, this could get ugly. And we could start seeing both sides attacking each other. As of recording this, I haven't heard anything from Kamala yet, but I bet that changes soon. I think there's a chance if she actually removes that bullshit political cringe acting facade that her and Hillary Clinton and all these weird politician types always have on, and just relaxes with Rogan and we get to see her real self in there, it could be a huge win for her. Well, at least we got the J.D. Vance interview to look forward to.
We actually recorded an episode of Joe Rogan this morning, so we...
Oh, hi, Tulsi. How you doing?
How long was it, JD?
Oh, it was long, all right. It was real long. Sorry, I'm back. Okay, where were we?
How long were you in Rogan's
Almost
studio?
4 hours. Almost 4 hours. So I've officially done more interview time than Kamala Harris has the entire campaign just today. So
I'd love for you to have Trump and Harris in here. That'd be interesting.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, what really should be the two of you sit down and have a conversation for as long as it takes.
Right.
Just no moderator, no one there.
No, not even a moderator, not you?
I don't think I need to be in the way. It would be hilarious just to watch
that would be a bloodbath.
How long would it take? Like, how are you going to fix the economy? How are you going to fix the economy? Like, I want to do this. That was my idea.
No time limit.
No time limit.
Like the UFC back in the day, right?
Now imagine if you got both of them on. Hell, if he got at least Kamala on, I could make a fire parody with the two episodes, like mashing them together. But that'll never happen. It would be too amazing if Kamala and Joe were on the same Rogan episode. Like, the world couldn't handle it, dude. People would die. Imagine the views, though, in an episode like that. Wow, that would be like biggest episode ever. Anyway, the media's spin on this is that Joe is actually the one turning Kamala down by refusing to go for her interview and follow her rules. She has to do it the way Trump did. So just more cope. Keep coping. Keep seething. Again, still time to change her mind, and my God, I hope she does. And apparently she's got an open invitation, so come on, Kamala. Do you want to win or what? Let's do this. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'd like to thank the sponsors of
Joe, Donald Trump is literally Adolf Hitler.
You really think that? I don't know. I had him on, and it didn't feel like I was talking to Hitler.
Joe, what more evidence do you need? He's having a rally at Madison Square Garden that is just like the Nazi rally that happened there in 1939.
How is it like a Nazi rally?
Donald Trump is going to be speaking in front of 20,000 people, Joe.
And what makes them Nazis?
Because they're going to see a Nazi speak.
So you think that because he's a Nazi, if people go see him, that's a Nazi rally?
I can't believe I'm sitting in the same chair Hitler sat in.
You're really going hard on this Hitler thing, huh?
Joe, he said there were very fine people on both sides at Charlottesville.
Yeah, but he specifically said that didn't apply to the Nazis.
I like my version better.
His grandkids are Orthodox Jews.
And once he's in power, he's going to round them up.
He's going to round up his own grandkids and do what? Take them to Disney?
Probably some kind of work camp, maybe worse. Did I mention no tax on tips?
Yeah, you stole that from Trump.
Joe, he's a fascist. He's basically like one of those Russian nesting dolls where he's the big one, and then inside him is Mussolini, and inside that one is Hitler, and inside that one is Pol Pot, and inside that one is Putin, and inside that one is Kim Jong-il.
So is that your platform now? Basically just he's Hitler until Election Day?
That and joy.
Hitler and joy?
And no income tax. I just made that up right here.
Do you have any original ideas?
I thought the nesting doll thing was pretty good.
If you like that, make sure to subscribe and follow for more.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Follow and subscribe to Danny's Perfect Content.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I also approve this message. Give your boy Danny a follow. You heard?
Classic Kamala. Always copying me. Not original at all. Sad.
I think Danny Polishchuk just he struck his gold. You know, you take his sketch comedy and you give him the ability to take AI characters like that and make them say the words. I think that's I'm glad to see he's an early adopter of that.
Yeah.
What did you think, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always fascinated at the state of the AI animation technology. I mean, it's going to make all other forms of acting and animation obsolete very soon. And it seems like every month it's getting more and more advanced. I see these guys, the Door Brothers. You see those ones on Twitter. Their little music videos and stuff. There's like really impressive. It's like you can see it's got that what do you call it? The uncanny valley where you can tell it's obviously not quite real, but it's very impressive with the technology that's just available to us for free. You know, how long have they been using this for real? Like, are all of these characters we see on TV even human? Like, I don't even know. But anyway, no, I think that's all as just like a creator and a digital film type creator person, like that stuff just really fascinates me. I want to learn what tools they're using and I want to figure out how to do it. But besides that, man, it's just like, it seems like it would be, okay. So I was just looking at the poly market and it looks like there was a huge shift this last week. It looks like Trump is at 55, Kamala's at 45, whereas just a couple days ago it was like 67 Trump, 33 Kamala. So it's like,
that's before this week's misinformation hit the marketplace, right? Because there was a big sizzle. We'll get to the story, but Trump said some stuff about Liz Cheney being like a war hawk, but a coward. Like she wouldn't be willing to pick up a rifle and go be in war, but she'll send people to war. That turned into Trump said, shoot her in the face, which is just like a callback to her dad shooting somebody in the face. So it's like, I told Lisa the other day, it's like studying politics as it is like going back to high school. And it's like you were involved in a scuffle and you're willing to own up to your side of it. But the person on the other side just keeps making shit up that's like so far from the truth, you don't even know what to say to it. Right. Yeah. So, when they take anything he says out of context, that's a problem. Because if what he said was really bad, you could leave it in context and we'd know it's bad. But when you always have to take it out of context and when you always have to hyperbolize and kind of like, oh, he's a Nazi, he's the worst person ever, you're losing all the people of logic and reason who see like you're disconnected from reality, having that belief. Have a nice day. So unfortunately, the whole Joe Rogan thing spun off into the Hinchcliffe being at Madison Square Garden during the alleged Nazi rally, which kicked off the island garbage stuff that is now this story block. Did Tony Hinchcliffe cost Trump the election? So we have a second ping trip video. Puerto Ricans explain and defend floating island of garbage joke from the conservative twins. And then we need to see the Daily Show's take on it to see how far they could bend reality and make a big deal of it. So we'll come out of that block and then be able to switch into Kamala press coverage from the past week of her campaign, winding up making the first lady president coming up and the first man coming up, Doug Emhoff. Very exciting news. We do have some news on him tonight as well. So without further ado, let's get into Ping Trip. Did Hinchcliffe just cost Trump the election with his joke that should have been saved for his late night comedy club over there in Kill Tony? Let's see.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right, okay.
That was comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who tried to fire up a jam-packed Madison Square Garden crowd of Trump supporters. The joke bombed, but the explosive fallout reverberated across the country to the 5 million plus stateside Puerto Ricans, many of them registered voters. Trump has got to go! Hey, hey! This afternoon in East Harlem, a who's who of Puerto Rican federal, state, and city leaders held a news conference to condemn the comments uttered Sunday night, comments that could backfire in a key battleground state.
Basically, he said goodbye to PA, to Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, we have 450,000 Puerto Ricans.
It is about human rights, people right here. And this is about my people. This is about our people who have suffered for way too long.
If you're looking at a 1 to 2% marginal turnout among Puerto Ricans along, math tells you that that would potentially be enough for the vice president to win that state.
Pennsylvania has more than 480,000 residents of Puerto Rican descent, according to 2022 data from the U.S. Census Bureau. That's the most out of any of the battleground states.
It was a comedian who made a joke in poor taste. Obviously, that joke does not reflect the views of President Trump or our campaign.
Donald Trump is a racist.
Let's dispense with this idea of it's just a joke.
A so-called comedian.
Didn't seem to be joking to me.
So-called comedian.
And what we saw last night was akin to a KKK rally. They talked about Latinos as being breeders in a horrifically offensive sexual context.
An island of garbage.
A floating island of garbage? This is not politics, Will. This is hate speech.
They did us a favor. They woke up. They woke up. They woke us up.
Jesus, Tony, what did you do, man? This is all Joe Rogan's fault. You opened up this can of worms, Joe. These disgusting little Tony worms, you know, the worst kind. And then you let those disgusting Tony worms loose on Trump. And now, Joe, you may have just cost Trump the election, dude. Well, at least according to CNN.
So I'm looking at a state like Pennsylvania, a critical battleground state where we know there are 465,000 plus Puerto Rican voters. You've now given the Harris campaign an opportunity to potentially target that demographic, to be able to put their door knockers and focus on heavy Puerto Rican communities. So if you're looking at a 1 to 2% marginal turnout among Puerto Ricans along, the math tells you that that would potentially be enough for the vice president to win that state.
Donald Trump took that podium and was incapable of saying one word against those racist comments because he believes them. And that is why this comedian said this, because he knows it is okay with Donald Trump and it is okay with that crowd. This idea that this doesn't reflect Donald Trump is simply false. I've been saying it for years. Donald Trump is a racist. If you are voting for him, does that make you a racist? That's up to you. But it does mean you are okay with racism.
What we have is somebody who is fine digging his heels in on racism, misogyny, on anti-Semitism, on Islamophobia. And what we saw last night was akin to a KKK rally. I'm sorry.
How did they choose this comedian who has history?
Well, who wasn't very funny.
He wasn't funny at all. Who has a history of disparaging Asians, for example. How did they pick this fellow and say, you know, we think he'd be right at this political rally? This is your closing argument?
When I heard the comedian, the so-called comedian, at the rally in Madison Square Garden, the first thing I thought of when I heard him was, how dare he? A floating island of garbage? There is no reason a Latino American should vote for Donald Trump. He has disqualified himself by surrounding himself with hateful, ugly rhetoric. This is not politics, Wolf. This is hate speech. It is really very offensive, and I think that President Trump should apologize right now.
You know you messed up when Geraldo comes after you. I don't know about you, but this is so entertaining to me. It's like right out of an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Anytime I turn on CNN, it was just nonstop interviews with angry Puerto Ricans.
Here we are in the Bronx, home to many of the roughly 1 million Puerto Ricans who live in the 5 boroughs, who live here and vote here as well.
What kind of people say that? Yeah. They don't know us. Yeah. Why they judge like that?
It's really hard to accept that came out of his mouth.
A lot of Boricuas, they're mad and disappointed. I feel disrespected. He doesn't know what we go through. You know, we've been through a lot.
Fernando Santiago already cast his vote for former President Donald Trump, but now he and his whole family are mad about last night's remarks.
That's messed up because that's my island. You know, I don't want people talking like that. You know. This is not right.
You gotta feel kind of bad for Tony, though. I imagine the jokes must have been, like, approved by someone within the Trump campaign. The Democrats jumped on this like it was a boat on the Titanic, thinking it can help them turn the race around. Maybe we can flip one of these races if we just drum up enough anger over these comments and make them seem like everything was literal rather than a joke, which is key to all this, guys. It's a joke, okay? It's not meant to be literal and actually hurt people. It's just meant to make you laugh. But damn, this whole thing is just amazingly fun watching the meltdown over Tony's jokes. Just seeing them talk about him on CNN, it's just surreal. This election's been so insane, I might miss it when it's over. The insertion of the Joe Rogan universe right into the middle of this freaking election is just, oh my god. It couldn't be any better. I want this to go on forever. And this is not gonna change the race. I don't really think it is. I would even say there's a possibility this might help Trump, okay? Because, like, look at it like this. CNN and all of them can scream all they want. The average person looks at this and goes, wow, it's just a joke. It's like if I put a big teddy bear in your front yard that is cute and harmless and clearly not a real bear and not a threat to anyone, and you start screaming, bear, bear, run, there's a bear. People are just going to laugh at you and think, oh, what the hell is this guy doing? What's going on here? It's so funny, though, to see the media jump on this so hard, like it's the thing that's going to change the election. Hilarious, man. I'd love this timeline right now. Anyway, we'll see what happens when this election ends. It would be crazy if Trump ends up losing and then people blame it on Tony Hinchcliffe. That would be interesting, but I doubt that's going to happen. But it would be funny. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'd like to
this Puerto Rican lady, she adds a lot of context to what that joke really meant by Tony Hinchcliffe. Yeah, about his joke about Puerto Rico. There's actually a problem in Puerto Rico, and this woman opened my eyes to it, and that's what the whole joke was about. Yeah, check out the video.
Here's why smart Puerto Ricans like me were not offended about the joke that was made about Puerto Rico being a garbage heap floating in the Atlantic at the Trump rally in New York, Madison Square Garden. Okay, let's explain it. Truthfully, there is a landfill problem in Puerto Rico. They don't recycle in Puerto Rico. They have a massive waste management problem in Puerto Rico. And because I knew of this, and I have family in Puerto Rico, and they would complain about this all the time, this joke landed for me. I was like, yeah, okay, he's not lying. And, now, the problem is right away the Democrats want to be all about race, and they want to make this a racist thing, and they want to pump in the bucket of this guy that made this joke and racist. How about if you care so much about the environment, darling Democrat friends, that you would look into Puerto Rico and you'd see the problem that's happening there with the
So it brings a lot of context. A lot of people in the crowd groaned when he said that joke because they don't understand the issue. Yeah, why would you say that at a Trump rally? Yeah. Now, I could see him saying that joke in front of a bunch of Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico. They would get it, but to say that in front of a Trump rally in Madison Square Garden to the world, I think it makes you look like a psyop. Yeah. Pretty easy to psyop, or he's just, but he's a comedian, so comedians don't like to censor himself. But you're at a Trump rally. Yeah. But he actually apologized. Here's his apology.
So we covered the comparing Trump to Hitler last week in preparation for that Madison Square Garden meeting, and now you see they still can't stop it. They can't stop it. So that looked really bad for Trump. And if I were the Democrats, I would have just I'd have sat down. I'd have let that be the end momentum to the campaign. That really could have had an effect. Except while Kamala was doing her wrap up, President Joe Biden still had access to Skype or something. So someone let him out, and they were just like, "Joe, we're in do no damage mode," and he's like, "Gotcha." He's like, "I'm going to go talk to the people." And during that, he referred to the American people who support Trump as garbage, which is, not Puerto Rico, the 51st state. It's actually talking about a bunch of people who actually live here in the lower 48 states. So we're going to unfold this block. Biden tanks Kamala's campaign, October surprise that they didn't plan. And then we have Biden calls Americans garbage. Benny Johnson and Vivek go collect garbage in a garbage truck. Trump rolls out the garbage truck. Tim Walz not believed when defending Biden. So he's going to try to defend Biden's comment. And you can watch the people polling on screen, and it just goes down when he starts giving the answer. And all right, cool. So the first two reports we're splicing together from Mark Dice, and then we've got JP Sears wrapping it up. Trump supporters are garbage. That'll be the end of that block, and we'll be right back to discuss. Go ahead and roll it.
By now, I'm sure you heard the news that Joe Biden gave us perhaps the greatest October surprise of any election, calling us all garbage. And you got to see Donald Trump's reaction when he first learned the news live at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. And Joe Biden's statement was so clear that many in the liberal media, including the Associated Press, are not even trying to deny it. This would seem like a meme, but this is the actual headline. Biden suggests Trump supporters are garbage. He made the comments yesterday on a live stream with a Latino organization when he was denouncing the comments that the comedian made at the Madison Square Garden big MAGA extravaganza when he joked about the Biden administration unable to manage Puerto Rico and the landfills are full there because of all of the debris from the recent hurricanes and it's piling up. And so he called it a floating island of garbage. And so this was Joe Biden's response. He got confused. He thought maybe he himself was from Puerto Rico and then managed to say what he really feels about all of us.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware.
Puerto Rico, where I'm from. I mean, my home state of Delaware.
They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
You got to see President Trump's reaction in just a moment and the failure to even attempt to spin this from some in the liberal media. But first, subscribe to my channel if you're new here and check back on a regular basis. Here he is at a rally in Pennsylvania.
All right, well,
Marco Rubio brings him the news.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage. Are garbage. He's talking about the Border Patrol. He's talking about nurses. He's talking about teachers. He's talking about everyday Americans who love their country and want to dream big again and support you, Mr. President. And I hope their campaign is about to apologize for what Joe Biden just said. We are not garbage. We are patriots who love America. And thank you for running, Mr. President.
Wait for it. This is fantastic.
Wow.
It is hard to believe. When I first saw the video, I thought maybe it was a deep fake. And so I had to double, triple check the facts just to make sure that it's real. And of course, it is.
So you have, remember Hillary, she said deplorable? And then she said irredeemable, right? But oh, that didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
He doesn't. He's a senile, crazy old man. Some of the clowns on CNN were even saying, well, Joe Biden's not running for president, so it's no big deal. He's not the one on the ballot. Others, however, are just flabbergasted and don't even know how to possibly spin this.
Tonight, there's new reporting about Joe Biden and a moment that explains why things are the way that they are. Sources tell CNN that the president is in do no harm mode, stapling himself to the bench at the direction of the Harris campaign. Well, even from the White House, he may have done some pretty significant harm in the final week of the campaign. Just listen to this, and you be the judge.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage.
Because of your mismanagement of the territory, yes.
Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware.
What?
They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done, everything we've been.
He didn't correct himself. He just went on and doubled down.
Joining us now, Franklin Leonard. He is in our fifth seat. He's the founder and CEO of The Blacklist. That was a moment, and not a moment that the Harris campaign wanted.
It certainly was. And even Anna Kasparian, the co-host over at the Young Turks, Cenk Uyghur's sidekick, posted, so the president calling tens of millions of Americans garbage is supposed to demonstrate character? Here's Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro in the key swing state where Donald Trump was last night, and not even he can try to downplay or deny what happened.
Governor, first off, just what's your response to that comment from President Biden, where it sounds like he's calling Trump supporters there garbage?
Yeah, look, I had not heard that until now, Caitlin, so I'm kind of giving you my fresh reaction to it. I would never insult the good people of Pennsylvania or any Americans, even if they chose to support a candidate that I didn't support.
He's in complete shock. He can't believe what he just heard. And the fact that it was presented to him by CNN host, this RBF Joker-looking creature, Caitlin Collins, who previously admitted that she has no emotions because a sociopath. Can't believe that Joe Biden would actually say such a thing. Joe Biden later took to Twitter. His staff later took to Twitter and posted in the first person claiming, earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at that rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. Politico, one of the wastes of cyberspace online, published this article written by an MSNBC contributor named Jonathan Lemire, claiming that Biden in a Zoom call with the organization Vote Latino said the only garbage was the hatred of Trump supporters who said such things about American citizens. When Hillary Clinton called us all deplorables and irredeemable, that was in early September of 2016. Donald Trump held a press conference earlier this evening from a MAGA garbage truck in order to denounce Joe Biden calling us garbage and to raise awareness of his comments, causing it to stay in the news cycle. Everybody knows curiosity killed the cat, and CNN couldn't help but air the press conference live.
Arizona. Anna, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Stand by for a moment. Trump is answering some questions from reporters.
Joe Biden to make that. Oh, not just from reporters, from in a garbage truck, sir.
Trump is answering some questions from reporters.
To make that statement, it's really a disgrace. How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. Now listen, I have to do something because Brett Favre is a great guy. He just endorsed me, and he's very important at this moment. I mean, you know, he's got a little problem for himself, and I thought it was very brave that he came out.
This press conference is being held in Green Bay, Wisconsin, by the way.
And I want to go over and see Brett Favre. We're all going together, I assume. You're going over. I'm going to make a speech. We're going to then try and beat the weather out because we have some bad weather coming in. I hope you enjoyed this garbage truck. Thank you very much.
All right, Trump sitting in a garbage truck in Green Bay, Wisconsin, getting ready to deliver his speech, answering a few questions from reporters. Kristen Holmes is there in Green Bay for us. Kristen, what's your analysis based on what we just heard from Trump?
Wolf, my analysis is exactly what we talked about before. They are trying to milk this for every single drop that they can. They want this to turn into what happened in 2016 when Hillary Clinton said that Trump supporters were a basket of deplorables.
And it already has, but this is 10 times worse. Here's pollster Frank Duntz on the Clown News Network talking about the likely repercussions of old Joe's little comment.
His comments seemingly describing Trump supporters as, quote, garbage. The Harris campaign is trying to downplay the effect of those comments. Of course they are. But I wonder if you think that those comments are going to move voters.
It's going to be huge because this is not some comedian saying something stupid and offensive at a rally where he should have been basically disinvited. This is the president of the United States endorsing his vice president saying something. And I know that there's different interpretations about what he said. It's still inappropriate. He still shouldn't be doing it. And I've watched Trump already seize this. The basket of deplorables was significant, was meaningful in 2016. In 2024, I can promise you that this is going to drive Trump turnout. He's doing it already. I can see, I'm sure there's going to be ads on as soon as tonight about this.
And he hasn't seen the garbage truck press conference yet at this point. And while old Joe's comments likely won't convince any Democrat to come over and vote for the Trump side, what it will do, like Frank Dunn said, is motivate Republicans to actually vote. If you don't actually vote, then you personally are going to be responsible for us to 4 years, maybe even 8 years of this.
Look, everybody has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking.
I'm speaking. Did you hear her voice crack there? She was being heckled by her own side again. Thank you, Joe, for giving us perhaps the greatest gift as an October surprise in election history.
This is former President Trump in a garbage truck in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He just was talking to reporters, talking about, as you hear the horn there, talking about President Biden calling Trump supporters garbage.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. A couple hours ago, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden called half the country garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
To show you how unbothered we are by this, and also how kick-ass it is to be part of the working class, we're going to roll out in a garbage truck today. Here in North Carolina, swing state with Vivek Ramaswamy. Let's go, baby. Yo, Joe, time for a pickup.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Oh, you got the Oscar the Grouch. Ready. Bro, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Garbage for Trump.
Here we are to do some cleaning up the garbage. You ready for this?
Yeah, taking out the trash.
Hey, bro, I got the actual trash.
Bro, I filled the entire back of that trash truck with Kamala Harris signs.
That's good. It's where it belongs.
We've been rolling through the neighborhood.
It's like a gravitational force of where it actually belongs. I think this is good.
And we got this for you.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
Nice. Let's throw it on. There we go. It's pretty good. Let's do it.
So we're out here with my boy Leo. What's up, man?
What's up?
How you doing? Did you hear Joe Biden call half the country garbage?
Yeah.
Yo, what'd that say to you?
Despicable.
Yeah.
Should never talk about America like that. Up in front, every day you got to come in, pre-trip your truck, make sure your tires are good, nothing's leaking, everything's good, the lights work, everything like that. And
so what are these? So these are gonna? Do these lift the machine?
Yeah, this scoops it.
Yep.
So one of them will scoop it, open and close it. The other one, up and down. This one right here is the tipper, the car tipper. Put the can there, tip it up, it'll tip it for you.
Got it.
Then you come over here, push this, it'll open the tailgate all the way
Both
up.
together?
No, just this one first.
Just the bottom, all right. And opens.
It'll
Okay.
open all the way up, and then you push the other one, and it'll push the garbage out.
Sweet.
And then reverse on the way back.
Man, this is a full operation, man.
Yeah.
I've never actually been in one of these, so thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for the opportunity. All right, dude, let's do it.
Let's go. Let's go with this.
Honestly, there's way more to it than people realize. It's like you're operating with a giant. It's like you're not only doing a job, you're like a machine operator as well. You could be like an expert technician, right?
Very dangerous, too.
It feels like it. How did it make you feel when Biden was like calling Trump supporters garbage? It's kind of insulting, right? Did you feel personally insulted by that? Yeah. I'm sorry, man.
You're out here working hard.
Yeah.
And he's putting us down.
We got a man right here who's a father of 4 kids, works his tail off to be able to give them a better life, and you got a president of the United States who's insulting him and Americans like us across the country. So, yeah. Thank you for standing up and at least be willing to say something about it. Leo Lorenzo. It's a good name, too.
Life been tough these last couple of years?
Life been tougher than during the Trump years?
Absolutely. Everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
How much it cost to fill up this beast? This one?
Yeah.
Probably close to 300
$300. But probably as of like even like a year and a half ago, it was probably even more than that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
$500 maybe then? Yeah. See, they've artificially depressed it now just because of the election. They're using strategic petroleum reserves. Those are like government reserves. So they're artificially compressing the price, but it's going to go right back to where it was if they win, which we're not going to.
All right. Let's do it, man. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Tell me, what are we doing here?
Right up to the lip.
Okay. Right up to here.
Yep. Up. Around. Pretty much right there. Always lift the lid open.
Is it on?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Lift open, and then what are we doing?
Pull them both out.
Pull them both out. You doing it right? Pull this one back too, or you good?
Yeah, you're good right now.
Sweet.
All the way up.
Pretty good machinery, actually. It kind of works. Should I pull it back again?
Nope, no, just pull. This goes up.
Should I pull it?
Yeah, pull it out.
Pull it out?
Yep. Push it in, then it'll put back down.
All right, man. All right, let's get some more.
All right, Vivek, so what's up? What'd you hear? What'd you feel? What'd you think when you saw the garbage comment?
I thought it was idiotic. It was so idiotic that actually I believed that in some subconscious sense it was actually designed to tank Kamala. Because you know that Biden in their family in some deep place does not want Kamala to win. And that's vindication for them, right? Yeah. And I have no doubt that some people in their family think that Donald Trump's not going to be a good president or whatever. But for them, self-interest, as we know, comes first. Their bank account, Trump, and our foreign policy. And so, in some deep sense, they feel like they were screwed over. They don't want Kamala to win, which is why they're not letting Joe out of the cage, which is why when Joe comes out of the cage, he accidentally blabbers things that actually undercut her. So anyway, it was the basket of deplorables moment. But the fact that as a consequence of that game, we're saying hurtful things. I mean, insulting things to people like Leo. I mean, we were talking to Leo. You found that pretty insulting. Absolutely. And I think it's disgusting that as a casualty of this sort of inner game politics of backstabbing each other, which is probably what that was about, you still see them insulting Americans so casually. And I think it's disgusting. But you know what? We can do things differently. I love the fact Donald Trump went and worked at McDonald's. I don't think that Kamala Harris has really worked there for that long, as long as Donald Trump did that day. But I think there's something about the quality of, you know what? Donald Trump got off his private jet, worked at McDonald's. Yeah, I landed on a plane I own, and I've never been on a dump truck before. But we kind of owe it to the people of the country to say we're all in this together. Most people who drive a garbage truck or a dump truck vote for Trump. Like 90%.
At least everybody I come across.
Everybody you come across? Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
That makes sense.
We are riding. Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Governor, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me.
I want to get your reaction to the president's comments, but I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing the Sunday Trump rally to a Nazi rally. And I would also throw in there Obama's bitter clingers, guns and religion comment from a while back, the deplorable line from Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the way that Democrats are seen by some voters as disrespecting them. And I have to ask, does that undercut this closing message of unity from your campaign?
No, certainly not. And for me, I've represented rural areas. I've represented Democrats, Republicans, Independents. Same thing with the vice president. Look, you saw a presidential speech last night at the Ellipse that is the best of America, one that's talking about unifying us, one that's talking about bringing folks to the table, one that the American tradition of disagreeing and debating, but still doing it in a respectful manner. And I think there's the frustration we've seen since January 6th, the frustration with Donald Trump's rhetoric of division. It does fire passions, and I think President Biden was very clear speaking about the rhetoric we heard at that, so it doesn't undermine it. People are hungry to come back together. They're hungry to find a unifying message. They're hungry for us to find solutions, whether it's prices or whether it's reproductive care. They want to see solutions.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right, okay.
I hate that trashy place. We couldn't be more outraged over these racist jokes made at a Trump rally. Good evening and welcome to We Lie to You News, your most trusted source of lies on the internet. Tonight we're bringing you a special report that will help you get more offended. A report on the Trump rally that took place at Madison Square Garden over the weekend, where comedian Tony Hinchcliffe was making vile jokes of a racist nature. Liberals are offended, conservatives are offended, and we now have proof that all Trump supporters are in fact Nazis, and Trump is genetically the exact same person as Hitler. But what are the implications on Trump's campaign from the comedian's jokes? What's Biden's response? What's Kamala's response? And what's Trump's response? We'll get to all that, but first, let's take a look at some of the most offensive jokes that'll have you mindlessly wanting to post a black square on your Instagram again.
And, used to be able to tell people to Google stuff. My mom's a boomer in the state of Ohio, and there's no convincing her of anything. She's eating the cats. She's eating the dogs. They're eating the pets.
Aside from eyewitness accounts, it's never been proven that those barbarians are eating pets. I think they're just eating children like a good Democratic voter is supposed to. Next clip.
Like me personally, I think football should be all year round. Yeah. So many great athletes. I don't know about you guys, but I think that Travis Kelce might be the next O.J. Simpson.
Would be kind of nice to have Taylor Swift off the radar permanently. Now let's take a look at what I'm told is the most racist comment.
All right, heck yeah, it's a cool black guy with a thing on his head. What the hell is that, a lampshade? Look at this guy. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm just kidding, that's one of my buddies. He had a Halloween party last night. We had fun, we carved watermelons together. It was awesome. You guys this is a groany little morning crowd, huh?
Is that racist? I carve watermelons with my black friends all the time. Is that bad? Shame on Tony Hinchcliffe. I have to stress, this comedian is not making jokes. He is making racist activism statements. He's not crafting jokes out of racism. He's conveying racism. And I'm pretty sure that the words that Tony Hinchcliffe is saying are coming right out of Trump's mouth. And now, a word from our sponsor. Awaken CBD. If you're weak enough that you're offended by everything, life probably feels pretty stressful. Awaken CBD. Whether you're looking to optimize your health, get the best night's sleep possible. Now back to the show.
The other side's got a lot of crazy endorsements. Swift, Eminem, Leo DiCaprio, Beyonce. Every day the Democratic Party looks more and more like a P. Diddy party. Okay, that's what you guys want.
We probably shouldn't have shown that one.
Yeah, Hillary, I bet you did not see that one coming. By the way, if I commit suicide in 3 weeks, I didn't.
That's exactly what a suicidal person would say. Right, Hillary? Now let's take a deeper look at the joke that's causing the most controversy.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right.
I'm outraged. Surely this warrants a response from the sitting president of the United States. And luckily, we woke him up to get his thoughts.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Well, that's pretty good. Trump supporters are garbage. If you thought a comedian making a joke about an island of 3.2 million people being garbage is in bad taste, then you certainly think that a president making a serious comment about 100 million Americans being garbage is in better taste. Biden's thought that 100 million Americans who are Trump supporters being garbage is so classy that it warrants a response from Trump. And luckily, Trump's campaign interrupted him at a rally to inform him of Biden's comment. Here's what Trump had to say.
We'll save you from that redundancy. You get it. You can go see JP Sears on YouTube to see the whole video. Scott, what do you have any thoughts about that section?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much in it, and you know, just even left over from the Daily Show and the last segment before, I'm just like, my blood gets boiling, and it's like, oh. And then you go in here and it's like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Like the Trump, the stunts, the garbage thing, the McDonald's thing. To me, I mean, it's entertaining, but it's also
job training.
Yeah, but it also has this feeling like he's just appealing to like the lowest common denominator possible, like that's what he thinks of his voters. He thinks of his voters as like they're like this clapping seals, like that just like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Yeah, maybe it's an own, but I feel like you lose a lot of your like aura and your boss status when you do that sort of thing.
When you wear the colored vest, it was his Halloween costume. It was so well timed.
I mean, I'm not, obviously not diminishing people that wear the thing. I've worn the thing, but it's like, okay, so I've heard it pointed out elsewhere this last week that there was an episode of The Apprentice where there's a guy that he's working with on The Apprentice, and the guy says, "Oh, I'm just white trash. I don't know how to do that. I'm just white trash." And Trump's like, "Excuse me? Don't ever say that about yourself. You're fired." Instantly on the spot. So it's like, where's that energy? I'm saying, like, just be the boss, be the Don. I don't know. I kind of vacillate between the two because it is funny and it is kind of an own, but at the same time, dude, like, I don't know. There's power in just being the boss too. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially. Or maybe it's like, when when I was in grade school, a lot of my friends were into pro wrestling, and I didn't get it because I was like, it's all scripted. Obviously, it's not the real deal. So I didn't get too attached to it. But they would be wondering, what is Hulk Hogan going to do about Randy Macho Man Savage threatening him? Like, it's kind of the same with politics. However, because it's popular and people are interested, it's certainly interesting in history. A lot of history is about politics and political actions taken for freedom and against freedom. That's kind of the whole story. So I give it the attention I think it merits, but I don't hang any of my future, like it doesn't, no matter who wins, doesn't really change what I have to do to support my family next week or next month or in the next year. I have to just continue to race against myself, and self-development amidst whatever these things are out there going on that I can't control, but I can laugh at them. We have a couple funny clips coming up because, creepy Halloween party after you are already known as a president for like sniffing and doing things to kids and daughter's diary, showering and all that stuff, right? Yeah. You wouldn't be biting babies' legs in front of cameras or during a Halloween party because we're covering the week in sequential order. We just got to the part where Halloween happens before the scary stuff happened at the end of the week. And, yeah, so we'll keep it short.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. But like, so it's like, I guess I was giving politics and these things too much credit. It is just WWE. It is just nonsense. It is just Randy Savage jumping off the top ropes, and that's what we're seeing. So you're right. Like,
however, even in the pro wrestling world, like you're not rooting for the Iron Sheik. Like there's heels for a purpose.
Yeah.
I got that advice from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Anyway, he wears lifts. All right, let's go to Biden's creepy Halloween party for just a couple minutes so we don't get scared. I got
a question for you guys. What's creepier than pedophile Joe Biden? How about a White House Halloween party hosted by pedophile Joe Biden? How would you bring your kids, by the way, to the White House? Well, one day after calling Trump supporters garbage, Joe Biden hosted kids at the annual White House Halloween party. He entered the party with his wife, Jill, dressed as a giant panda. Of course, you know all about pandas, right? You know all the subtext about pandas and the hidden meaning there, of course. We've covered it here on the show. So, yeah, that was kind of bizarre and creepy enough. But that's all really the mainstream media really showed you. CNN, in fact, I watched CNN's videos on their YouTube channel. And what CNN showed you specifically was just the panda and then him like kind of, laughing and having some fun. And that's it. They selectively edited out the really creepy parts of this where Joe Biden starts gnawing on children's feet and biting their legs as he invites like different parents with their babies to come up and interact with the president. Let me just gnaw on this foot. Let me just chew on your leg. And why would, by the way, if you're that mom, she's like, yeah, this is fun. Like, this is fun. I'm just going to look at you, or you're enjoying this, right? This creepy old man is chewing your foot. So here's some videos. You want to see this actually in action?
No, I don't, but okay.
Who?
Well, there's Trump's next line. He's eating the babies.
Yeah. And they're going to turn it into a song. He's eating the babies.
She's like,
He's
bye.
eating
Bye
the
then.
babies. They're eating the cats. They're eating the babies. Look, I mean, let me just gnaw on that leg. I'm just hungry. I didn't get it. They don't feed me in this White House. Can I just gnaw on your face? And this mom is like, yeah, this is fun. Oh, I'm so thankful. Thanks so much.
That is a super cute baby, though.
Oh my God, the creepiness. And like a few weeks ago, he was at a campaign stop and he was speaking and he said, and there was like some babies in the front row. There's some little kids there. And he's like, my staff has told me I gotta stay. I can't do this. I can't do this. But you know what? I'm the president of the United States. I'm going to do this. Let's bring these babies up here. So his staff has tried to keep him away from babies.
Oh.
They've specifically tried to keep him away from this. And he just was like, you know what? They told me I shouldn't do that anymore, but just bring these babies up here. I just want to gnaw on them a little bit.
Those people are counting the minutes until they don't have to babysit that guy anymore.
But actually, here's an interesting question, though, right? Because his staff knows that he does this around babies, and they know that he just threw Kamala Harris under the bus by labeling every Trump supporter
I see where you're going
garbage.
with this. Yeah.
Did they just allow him to do this? So now we turn the page and start talking about him gnawing on babies instead of him calling Trump supporters trash.
Possibly.
Is this the way to turn the page?
In the meantime, Kamala Harris has distanced herself from Joe Biden's comments that Donald Trump's been referring to repeatedly. He's still got his high-vis vest on when he drove the garbage truck earlier in the day. I want to bring in our Washington correspondent, Annalise Nielsen, who's in Pennsylvania. Annalise, give us a sense of how this is playing out there with the Republican Party able to turn out. What was a problem into now a gain for them politically off the back of Joe Biden's latest gaffe?
Look, it's remarkable. It was an issue for them to manage, and now it has completely gone in a 180. But we've had some of the best pictures visually from this election in the last few hours. So I just want to show you some fresh ones that we've had just come into the newsroom. So these are pictures of Joe Biden with kids visiting the White House in their costumes. Now, this always gives us some pictures, but this is an interesting one because we've seen these photos already circulating of Joe Biden biting the leg of a baby dressed like a turkey. So it doesn't seem like the baby was too upset, but it's certainly one of those odd moments that just after his latest gaffe is now playing into this broader picture of Biden taking attention away from Kamala Harris. And this is the big problem her campaign's had since day one, taking over the ticket from Joe Biden, who's never explicitly given a reason why he stepped down other than he thought that someone else might have a better shot at winning. And this is the big problem with what we've seen with these garbage comments coming around Donald Trump supporters. Now, Donald Trump has now taken over that as well. Today, he got off the plane in Madison, Wisconsin, and right into a bespoke garbage truck wearing a high-vis vest. It's there he wanted to take back the insult of his supporters being called garbage and make light of it. And this is really important visually for the Trump campaign. He's been cast as the next dictator, a totalitarian, a petty dictator at that. And so having this light-hearted response to it takes some of that heat out in this last week of people who are being told they should be terrified by this guy who looks like he can take a joke.
I think the Democrats have done a very poor job. We're leading in every state. We're leading big, and I think that the comment made by really both of them, because there are really two of them, about being garbage, maybe 250 million people, they shouldn't be talking. That's like deplorable for Hillary. This is the deplorable for Hillary. And I think this is worse, actually. For Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace. I love Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico loves me. I don't know anything about a comedian. I love Puerto Rico. Nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me. I took care of them when they had the big hurricanes, and nobody gets along better with Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican people than me.
So, Kieran, to take a step back and explain where this has all come from in the last few days, it all started with a comedian at the Madison Square Garden rally for Donald Trump, speaking before Trump came on stage and making a joke saying that Puerto Rico was a pile of garbage floating in the ocean. Now, Puerto Ricans can't vote for president, but there are plenty living in America that can vote, in particular here in Pennsylvania, more than 400,000 of them in the state. So it's absolutely a voting bloc of the size that could change how this this critical battleground state comes out next Tuesday. What has happened, though, is that while Kamala Harris was giving this speech at trying to cast herself as the president that's going to unite America, is going to take the heat out of it and be more respectful to those across the aisle, Joe Biden was inside the White House taking a phone call with Latino supporters for the Democrats. And in that, he described Donald Trump's supporters as garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not.
Kieran, you heard Donald Trump there before reference Hillary Clinton's remarks in the 2016 election about the deplorables. It absolutely has the same kind of emphasis when we're talking about an election where so many people are worried about cost of living and the economy, and those are the kind of people that might not normally consider voting Republican but are thinking about it this time. To be told that they're garbage is the kind of thing that comes across as elitist and can isolate people. We've heard from people in Pennsylvania today about how they think it just casts them as like every other politician they're dealing with, and it goes into the same narrative that Donald Trump has, that he's the businessman, he's not a politician, despite having already been president himself. He led off with this at his rally in Madison, Wisconsin, wearing the high-vis vest right throughout to keep the joke going.
This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way. And they actually mean it, even though, without question, my supporters are far higher quality than crooked Joe or lying Kamala. Higher quality. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans.
Kieran, in his press conference as well, or a discussion with journalists, what he also referenced was something we've noticed being on the campaign trail in so many swing states, that so many supporters and so much of the discussion around this election, it's either you're voting for Trump or you're voting against Trump. And a lot of people are indeed voting against Donald Trump. It may well get the Democrats over the line, but that is the singular focus of so much of the Democrats campaigning at the moment.
She talked last night, and all she talked about was Donald Trump.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. 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 Trump.
That's all she talked about, because she and Joe have absolutely no achievement in gloom and death.
And of course, Kieran, for those diehard Donald Trump supporters, they've gladly worn the title of deplorables for many years, and now they're happily picking up garbage as well.
Well, I believe everything basically that President Biden says is garbage himself.
We're not garbage. We're not trash. We are the American people. But we're better than this. We can rise above. It will be the downfall of their campaign.
So, Kieran, it is all still happening just 6 days out from the presidential election. The polls are so tight, and it's what we're seeing on the ground here. It is going to be absolutely knife edge from all appearances what the result will be. But, of course, we need to remember, even if a state's won by a tiny margin, whoever wins picks up all the electoral college votes for that state, unless it's Nebraska or Maine. But for Pennsylvania, where I am, it's 19. So we could well see a landslide result in the electoral college next Tuesday, or we could have a very long count while they fight it out until the end.
I release you from the spell.
You have no power here.
Well, the New York Times hit piece just dropped and basically outright demands that YouTube ban anybody who even appeared to be pro-Donald Trump, pro-conservative. People like Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Kash Patel, Benny Johnson, Mike Davis, Ted Cruz, RFK Jr., and more. This, in my opinion, is trying to sway the message. They are extremely upset that YouTube didn't censor us enough. And while I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity that YouTube has given me to, because of them, because of the platform that they built, I've been able to find and meet all of you. Again, I keep telling folks, give Rumble a try. I have nearly 270,000 followers on Rumble. It is not a wasteland. There is tons of people there. Be considering new content out there. This is actually scary because I know we all know that it's nonsense. The problem is YouTube will probably bend the knee. YouTube will probably demonetize some of these people and probably crank up the shadow banning. And so before we get into their ridiculous lies, I want to make a direct call out. I have been working extremely hard with my team to build a membership site on thequartering.com that's better than anyone else. Quite simply, it's $8 a month. You get 3 members-only videos every week. I did one with Styx yesterday, Hannah Claire the day before. I've got one adding more all the time. Now, YouTube claims, quote, so Media Matter claims YouTube is allowing these right-wing accounts and channels to undermine the 2024 election. Why? I mean, even if you say all of these people are biased, so is CNN, so is MSNBC, so is ABC, so is NBC, so is every late night talk show host, right? Everybody. YouTube claims the ability to openly debate political ideas, even those that are controversial, is an important value, especially in the midst of the election. The New York Times and Media Matters hope to pressure Google and YouTube hand throughout this entire article. Here I have the archive, of course, because screw the New York Times. Plus, I want to make sure, just in case they try to change anything, I always archive for legal reasons. In June 2023, YouTube decided to stop fighting the most persistent strain of election misinformation in the United States from the falsehood. Within months, the largest video platform became the home for election conspiracy theories, half-truths, and lies. Oh, like the Project 2025, or that Trump wants to take away women's rights to health care, or that Russiagate, or the P-tapes, or, I mean, any of the things that CNN spews out every night. Now, here in the second paragraph, this tells you what they want. Within months, the largest platform, they in turn became a source of revenue for YouTube, which announced growing quarterly ad sales on Tuesday. Well, duh, it's an election year. I had the best October I've probably ever had this month. I know that's not going to happen. For the next year, everybody blew their ad budgets. During 4 tumultuous months of this year's presidential campaign, researchers from Media Matters for America, which is a bully organization that is pro-leftist, a group that monitors information from conservative sources, but not liberal, interesting, examine the consequences of YouTube's about face. New York Times independently verified the research examining all the videos identified by Media Matters and determined whether YouTube placed ads or fact-check labels on them. This is what's going to happen. If Donald Trump wins this election, the conservative space of YouTube, which was already incredibly siloed, even just the non-mainstream space, right? Because, I'm not a conservative. I'm a Trump guy, but I don't know, what's going to happen to my vote. I have no undying loyalty to Republicans or even some conservative values. I'm still seriously just a 90s liberal who doesn't, that's basically none of my views have changed since that. The 30 conservative channels posted 286 videos containing misinformation, which racked up 50 million views.
YouTube generated revenue from more than a third of those videos by placing ads before them or during them, researchers found. Now, what's interesting about this attack is that they're going directly after YouTube. By the way, have you gone to thequartering.com/join yet? I really hope you're going to join. This obviously can only end bad for everybody in this space, but everyone else is already multimillionaires, okay? Tim said he's got 50,000 plus paying members. Daily Wires of The Quartering needs you. We've got a team here, 10 plus people now. We got Melanie Mack, Stix, Luke Rudkowski, Hannah Claire, Maggie, Steven, Al, Ben. I mean, it's, you know, we need you too. Popular pundits like Ben Shapiro, Mr. Giuliani, Mr. Carlson. YouTube, which is owned by Google, has prided itself on connecting viewers with authoritative information. You mean forcing mainstream media on people about elections? But this presidential content, it acted as a megaphone for conspiracy theories. Do you think that the authors, do you think the New York Times thinks maybe that Donald Trump is going to win? Do you think that maybe they're just selectively being outraged about this because they think Donald Trump's going to win the election? That's what I think. It certainly seems like that, at least to me. YouTube spokeswoman said none of the 286 videos violated its community guidelines. Get wrecked. Get wrecked. YouTube says, go pound sand. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to turn around and start siloing us more than normal. That's why I've been putting so much, all that, you know, I said October was a good month. Well, I didn't keep that money. I spent it on upgrading thequartering.com. You know, it's like a smart person would. All my competition hasn't upgraded their sites at all. They don't have an awesome members dashboard like I have where you can get daily messages and all this kind of stuff. They don't have that. Thequartering.com/join has that, though. Anyway, the ability to openly debate political ideas, even those that are controversial, is an important value, especially in the midst of election season, she said in the statement. Most of the 30 track channels are, quote, ineligible for advertising. And some had already previously violated the company's content policies, the spokeswoman added. This report demonstrates that our consistent approach to enforcing policies. So they cherry-picked a bunch of channels that YouTube already censored and re-presented them to YouTube as saying, you know, oh, look, you didn't silence them enough. Because these people don't want you silenced, really. They just want you dead. They want my business dead. They want Melanie Mack unemployed. They want Stix unemployed. They want, you know, Hannah Claire, Luke unemployed. They want all my Ben, Al, you know, Steven, Maggie. They want them all unemployed. They don't want them just kind of silenced because they know that a bunch of you out there are still going to find our videos. Now, way back in December of 2020, YouTube banned content that, quote, misleads people by alleging, you know, that they didn't have any faith in the election process. But in June 2023, the platform reversed course, saying creators were allowed to dispute the outcome. Good, you should be allowed to. YouTube declined to comment on whether or not it would impose a ban on misinformation about the outcome of the race after the state certified the votes. People are allowed to have an opinion and they hate it. By the way, have you also downloaded the Rumble app yet? Follow The Quartering on Rumble. Watch my 1 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday live.
A news station in Pennsylvania broadcast something that their viewers weren't supposed to see. The US presidential election results for Pennsylvania. Whoops. It happened during WNEP's coverage of the Formula One race, which was taking place in Mexico City.
George Russell. It's in Mercedes, having a great old scrap here.
Of course, Harris won. According to viewers, the results were flashed up on screen for several minutes, and after they expressed confusion as to what they were seeing, the news station was forced to come out with an explanation and an apology as to what happened. Those numbers should not have appeared on the screen, and it was an error by WNEP that they did. The numbers seen on the screen were randomly generated test results sent out to help news organizations make sure their equipment is working properly in advance of election night. WNEP regrets the error and apologizes apologises for any confusion. We've taken steps to ensure that it does not happen again. This got me thinking, why do they need to run a test showing the election results over a week in advance? They're not exactly doing a test run for a broadcast from Mars, are they? It doesn't seem like something so complex that they would have to test it way in advance. It's literally a couple of panels with numbers on it. The Formula One Grand Prix, which they were broadcasting, manages to display hundreds, if not thousands, of different numbers on screen every other week live. Turns out WNEP is owned by Tegna Incorporated, the chairman of which is Howard D. Elias, a longtime Democrat donor. Its president and CEO is Mike Steeb, who donated to Joe Biden's presidential campaign in 2020 and has also donated to several Democratic PACs. I'm sure that's just a coincidence though. And no, I'm not suggesting they've rigged the results in advance or any kind of grand conspiracy like that. Legally, they're not even allowed to start counting the votes there until after 8 p.m. on election day. But given that early voting is still taking place in Pennsylvania, could this have confused some people and made them think that it was already all wrapped up and that there was no point in voting? I mean, yeah, possibly, but I'm still trying to grasp why you would need to do a test run of something 10 days in advance that's so blindingly simple.
You know, Scott, in that the New York Times hit piece that YouTube said go pound sand, that was a company called Media Matters for America. Oh, I found them. I have them over here in the History Blueprint. Check this out. Media Matters for America. It's a Soros front group, organizations funded by George Soros and his Open Societies Network. But, you know, George Soros had also funded, through one of the subsidiaries, a place called Comet Ping Pong, which is owned by a guy who was in a relationship with the guy who runs Media Matters. And that's the same group that went after Alex Jones and InfoWars, right? Interesting. The Soros tentacles, you know, don't fall short of such activities. And that George Soros, once upon a time, if I type in 18, just type in 18 to the History Blueprint. Oh, I have to type in 18 billion because I got too many other 18s in here. There you go. Soros transfers billions to Open Society foundations for his promotion of democracy as he sees it. Now, this is a story that was repeated many, many, many times. Here's the $18 billion, and it's Wall Street Journal, right? When he puts $18 billion into something, you could bet there's probably some activity involving politicians and people who influence politicians, like the guy who ran the pizza place that plays the ping pong. That guy was one of the 50 most influential people in DC. Why do you think so? Do you think it's all just because of nonsense that was made up on some Reddit post or something? Or do you think maybe he was a mover and shaker in DC's underground society, as you would see it? So when you can trace Soros money to that pizza place through the 21st Century Bridge Foundation, let me see if I have that over here handy. 21st Century Bridge Foundation. Here you go. American Bridge 21st Century. Soros gives $11K to that pizza place that is in a relationship with David Brock and this lady threw a host party for the Media Matters guy. So when Linda Rothschild, the best friend XOXO of Hillary Clinton, is doing these sort of favors for the guy who wrote the hit piece for the New York Times, because the whole source of the New York Times is Media Matters, and this is the same group that's funded by Soros and going after Alex Jones and the, you know, whole conservative freedom movement, labeling conservatism as fascism, one of their famous talking points. You know, it's pretty interesting that it doesn't really get mentioned out there, and it just goes on, you know, and it puts people in the conservative YouTube space at risk. And they don't really understand the history of what's going on there either. Some of them might even think it's conspiracy theory, but let's click this. Let's see what happens. Is there a source document for this? Survey says factcheck.org, American Bridge 21st Century. Let's see. Super PAC, Control F, Soros. Oh, look at this. Jorge Soros. Huh. So if this group funded by Jorge Soros put some money into Comet Ping Pong for some reason back in the day, that would be interesting. Maybe more. because people who think there's no basement to that building should probably check out the architectural blueprints for that building. You just can't get there from inside the pizza shop. So there's validity still potentially to that story. And the underground connections as juxtaposed to the WikiLeaks and what you can learn about Podesta and Hillary and all their antics in there, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay. So you can look these sort of things up, but this is the guy who runs Media Matters. And I should probably put Media Matters under him because it wasn't connected. You can't see that pop up on your end, but it's here on my end. There we go. Now you see it. All right, good. We have delved into that as much as it needs to go into this episode. Did you pick up on that, Scott, at all? The Media Matters New York Times source for that, all that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and it's just like Media Matters like exists solely to like censor opinions that they don't agree with, right? I mean, that is their role. You know, there's many other organizations that see themselves as the watchdogs, and they feel like there are limits to free speech, and it's their duty to smash down and silence those opinions that they don't agree with, right? You know, I have a shirt in my Rebunk News t-shirt shop, rebunk.news. You can find a link there if you want to look at the shirts. It says censorship kills in big letters. Because my argument is that when you censor information, you know, when you censor opposing views or you censor one entire side of the conversation, then people are only making decisions based on a limited amount of information, just one side of the opinion. And a lot of those times, unfortunately, the information that gets censored generally turns out to be somewhat truthful or somewhat guided by, you know, good faith, right? Whereas the other side is based on lies and manipulation. So it's just funny how that just keeps happening over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So when you look at a case like YouTube, it's really an interesting case in how censorship actually kills. Because Susan Wojcicki, sorry if I don't pronounce her name correctly, her son died of a heroin overdose earlier this year. Okay. And so another example, Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin was kicked off of YouTube specifically. He's cited the reason why was because it was many, many years ago. He was going off about the Sackler family, who was one of the main people behind the opioid epidemic, right? Yeah. And in his way of approaching that topic, he was eliminated for hate speech, right? You know, anti-Semitism, hate speech, all that for addressing the Sackler family, right? Now imagine a world where he was allowed to stay on YouTube and continue to disseminate that information, make more people aware of the opioid crisis. Maybe Susan Wojcicki's son would not have passed away, right? There's a possibility. Who knows? Again, and then you want to go even crazier. So sadly, Susan Wojcicki herself passed away a couple months ago, right? And it says here with a 2-year battle with cancer. And we could make some assumptions with that, but imagine there was a world where all of the information that we were so desperately trying to get out in 2020, 2021 had been allowed to remain on YouTube, and people could make medical decisions for themselves and weren't coerced or forced, felt like they were forced. And perhaps maybe Susan would have heard an episode of Grand Theft World or something, or any one of these shows, you know, Truthzilla back in the day. Maybe they would have heard an episode of Truthzilla and been like, dang, maybe I shouldn't take one of those injections, right? And maybe she'd still be here today. So it's interesting how their own censorship, in a weird cosmic way, may have led to this. And you can extrapolate that in a million different ways. Yeah.
You could have shown Wojcicki, because I'll say the name the same way to give you support. You could have shown Wojcicki Grand Theft World, and she would have tried to destroy it. Because she can't understand it, and that's what censorship mentality does.
And it kills.
And that's why I'm going. I found your page, and I scrolled down. I found the shirt. Here's the shirt right here. Let's see if it opens up. There you go. Censorship kills.
There is 50. Oh yeah, that's a $30 sweatshirt hoodie, which is hoodie season, folks.
That's
You're not going to find a $30 hoodie anywhere, and the t-shirts are $15. You can't find a $15 shirt.
The InfoWars hoodies, I don't know, they were like $65 or something.
Yeah.
But it's support InfoWars season. I'll support InfoWars more than I support a political candidate. I don't send them money, but I'll send Alex money. TheAlexJonesStore.com is where you get stuff. Yeah. And if you do the VIP thing, he gives you like $30 credit per month of that subscription. So I mean, I bought everything in the store that I wanted, so I'm just, going to let him have that $30 every month, but you can play it differently. You could get your value for value. It's an interesting plan that he has to stay in business where it's not just send him money. It's like he's offering you products and he's going to use a percentage of that. And the VIP club is something he should have started like 10 years ago, because he used to have Prison Planet TV, and I used to pay $5 a month for that for like, I don't know, 10 years. And then it changed, and I was like, bro, you should be getting that recurring revenue for your operations so you can get like people who provide those documents. After every broadcast, here's all the documents that Alex talked about, right? Like he never got to that level where he could get that done. And then he came under attack by the Media Matters and Soros gang, who drove up the whole, Pizzagate thing and Sandy Hook. They were behind all that stuff, all those lawyers, all those lawsuits, all those billions of dollars that try to break him are the same people who've been trying to break Trump. It's the same group of people. It's not, they only went after Alex because Alex was partially responsible for getting enough people on the Trump bandwagon back in 2016. So yeah, those are real ongoing aspects of our society.
Absolutely. And then so it's just like, it's frustrating because, that's why I'm in this thing, dude. Like, it's so crazy because ever since COVID, the lockdowns happened, and then especially when the vaccine campaign started, the agencies that should be entrusted to do it, the FDA, CDC, all these things, NIH, like these are the agencies that I guess were formed in theory to protect the American public from all these things. But if they're going to be completely derelict on that position, and if there's all this censorship going on to prevent the side from getting out, it's like I felt like it's, in a way, like up to me, it's up to all of us in the independent media to get this out. And it's just been really heavy on my heart because it's like, how did we get into this position where it's like, it's us and all the audience out here sharing with their friends, like we're the ones that have to break through the censorship because this massive wall of resistance is there. And it's like, I genuinely don't want people to take the shots and make decisions that are going to hurt themselves or their family, and it's like, I don't even know how we got into this position. It's so crazy,
I think we started to get into it like in the 1980s when people got more enamored with TV shows than what's actually going on with their family or the outside world. There was a point earlier tonight where I forget what the setup was, but I was gonna say, yeah, it was just like how everyone cared about like how Sue Ellen killed JR on the TV show Dallas, right? Because everyone knows the phrase, who shot JR, but few people stuck around to the next season because that was the first time they did a cliffhanger, right? It was the first like big time, in my reference, I was like in second grade or something, but like that was the thing. Everyone had to wonder for months, like who did it? Who killed JR, right? And then you find out it was that chick. Anyway, spoiler alert, 40 years later. The point is, like, ever since they got between MTV for the younger generation and then like the serial TV dramas, that they get people into, those weren't as much of a thing in the 70s just because it was sporadic programming. There was only like 5 channels total, right? And they went off air at a certain point. But once the MTV era started, condensing, like, you'd watch a cinema film in the 70s, it has 300 cuts in the whole movie. Now you're watching a 3-minute video, it's got 300 cuts, it's got 100 cuts a minute in there, and that formulates people's short attention span. And what's that do? It breaks you from reality, because reality, you need a longer attention span than 8 seconds to survive, unless you're a kept goldfish and you're in a terrarium or an aquarium someplace. Then you're a pet, and I'm not a pet, so I take on the additional self-responsibility to think outside the fishbowl.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but it's their censorship that kind of radicalized me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it activated me, put me in the game.
Especially once you realize it, because what are they doing? They're not hiding the life-taking information. They're hiding the life-giving information. And it's the opposite of what those agencies are theoretically supposed to do. When you see that those are the people cracking down on people trying to stay alive, and you're like, oh, it's about tyranny. And what did they do? They got in and just took the thing that's it's just like what they did with COVID. They take the thing that's supposed to keep you safe and they turn it inside out. Like the immune system of the politics of the country, of your body, there are metaphors to be made there. But, when they introduced AIDS through their secret program that they wrote about in the 60s and 70s, that they wanted to do this thing, and then it comes out of a place where there's a CIA secret lab in Leopoldville in the Congo, which is Zaire, I think. Still, they switch back and forth. It's DNC, it's Democratic Republic of Congo now, maybe. But back in the 70s, like those were actual goals. They were trying to do all sorts of stuff. They worked on a gay bomb. They worked on all sorts of crazy stuff back in the day.
Everyone's doing some kind of self-help these days, and you can find a million self-help courses out there. Most other courses out there are hosting lectures. They're hosting videos. They're maybe even doing Q&As. And these are great starting points to encourage learning. But at Autonomy, we believe that hands-on practice is the best way to really lock in what we're learning. There's no better way to gain confidence and mastery than through action. After each lecture, we practice the concepts we've learned with other students, giving and receiving feedback in a non-judgmental environment. The result is mastery of concepts like entrepreneurship, ethical sales, and self-reliance in an environment that directly translates to the real world. Plus, you make connections with other like-minded individuals who are learning right alongside you, and you have a lifetime membership in the community. The Autonomy course with Richard Grove equips you with confidence, competence, and courage in a world filled with confusion and noise. You can learn more at getautonomy.info. We'll see you there.
What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come